Government, please report.
Yes, sir.
Your name is Joquell Myers.
Yes, sir.
In July 2019, you were 23 years old.
Yes, sir.
You're currently 26 years old.
Yes, sir.
You live in Maysville.
I stay in Clarendon County. I was locked up for 3 years. That's why, you know what I'm saying? I did stay in Mansfield. Now I stay in Manning. I'm locked up.
Prior to your arrest, you were living in Maysville.
Yes, sir.
Is that correct? On the afternoon or evening of July 7th, 2019, you left Maysville and came to Sumter.
Yes, sir.
Now, if I may, I want to play a video for you. If you would bring up the Facebook Live video. Who is this individual?
That's my brother.
DeAndre Ellis.
Yes, sir.
Not me now, y'all. Not me now. I ain't sending B at him. I'm gonna send a goon at him. You feel me? Not me personally now.
Is it correct that in this video, DeAndre Epps says that he is going to send his goons after Mike Rogers?
He said he's gonna send goons at you. You know what I'm saying? I ain't hear him say he's gonna send goons at Mike Rogers.
Me now, y'all. Not me now. I ain't sending B at him. I'm gonna send a goon at him. You feel me? Not me personally now. But it will get him.
Now I'm looking at the comments. This is Facebook Live, correct?
Yes, sir.
So individuals watching will appear on the screen.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you listened to this, so you've heard Trey Epps refer to people who are watching.
Yes, sir.
Okay? I will forget the name, but I believe it's Quetta. He references Quetta.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he also says that his dad's watching.
Yes, sir.
So we see Kilo Epps on there. That is his father and your father
Yes, sir.
is watching this video.
Yes, sir.
And he talks about beating up people in that part.
Yes, sir.
Then, on September 26th, you contacted law enforcement so that you could talk with them.
Yeah, I want to know why I'm trying to murder. I mean,
And on September 26th, and I'm going to refer to State's Exhibit number 2, you were read your rights.
yes, sir.
You understood your rights,
Yes, sir.
and you signed the form acknowledging such.
Yes, sir.
That statement was freely and voluntarily given to the police.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, it was a lengthy statement, correct?
What do you mean?
It was well over an hour.
Yes, sir.
Okay? Now, is it fair today to say that the statement that you gave on September 26th is greatly different than your testimony here today?
Yes, sir.
So it's different. You admit that.
Yes, sir.
Now, would it surprise you to know that on no less than 25 occasions, you were asked either what kind of gun you had, where is the gun, what did you do with the gun, and in none of those, no less than 25 times, did you give an answer?
No, sir.
That would not surprise you.
No.
Mr. Myers, in Maysville, in the young black community, is it socially acceptable to talk to law enforcement?
Objection, Your Honor.
What's the basis?
Your Honor, he's asking for the entire, I'm trying to think of his phrasing, young African Americans who live in Maysville, do they talk to police? How can this witness have the,
He's a member of that community.
Okay, I'm gonna allow the question. Thank you.
Yes, sir. We don't talk to the police.
Thank you. And when you went into that interview room, did Detective McFadden present you with a Bible?
No, sir.
Did he ask you to place your hand on that Bible?
No, sir.
Did he ask you to raise your right hand?
No, sir.
Did he ask you to solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Objection, Your Honor. It's a series of leading questions.
Yes, sir. That's a statement.
Were you placed under oath in the investigative room?
No, sir.
And when you said, I didn't kill anyone, what did you mean?
I ain't kill nobody.
After they presented you with the murder warrant, how did that make you feel?
Make me feel like, what they got going on? I know I ain't kill nobody. Shoot, I'm ready to talk about this, you know what I'm saying? No, I ain't, they got the wrong dude.
This part of the trial is called closing arguments. It gives us a chance to review the evidence with you and give you what we think, tell you what we think are the reasonable inferences. And we have premeditation, which can go to be an example of malice for y'all. Malice, evilness, wickedness, one person chose, and we're gonna show you that in a minute as we start.
Killer. I'ma send them little goons at you, Mr. Killer. Boy, you better not ride in that town, John. Mr. Killer. The boys coming for you, Mr. Killer. I'ma send them little goons at you, Mr. Not me now, y'all. Not me now. I ain't sending B at them. I'ma send the goons at them. You feel me? Not me personally now. But he will get him. But he will, him in his car, will get him in makeover. Hey, Dad, you know I beat them niggas up. My dad, you got my dad on here last. Dad. Nobody got my dad on here last. And then you know I beat them niggas up. Yeah, we don't play with guns. Nobody from me don't play with guns. We fight. We play with cars. We fight third quarter. We fight quarter. Some bitch got me all sweaty in here talking about killing Mike.
He uses his thumb as a revolver, as he's singing and celebrating, going to kill, going to get Michael Rogers. That's malice. That's express malice. I don't know how you express it any other way. We're coming to get you. We're gonna give you and your car a new makeover. That's malice. Keep playing it.
I'm on black. Come on, y'all, go. Mr. Killer. Who you think you are, Mr. Killer? Who you think you are, Mr. Killer? Who do you think you are, Mr. Killer? Who do you think you are, Mr. Killer?
Gonna do what they were gonna do when it happened. And they were enjoying doing it, he was enjoying doing it, and until yesterday, October 3rd, 2022, at 12:08, in front of y'all, he said, it was funny to me, and it's still funny to me. Malice, evilness, wickedness, depraved heart. That's what this case is about, and what we must show to y'all when we believe respectfully we have. It's your decision. Now, the judge is also going to charge you, and I'm trying to pair this together so I can go through one time. I'm trying to, I'm going to follow it. The judge is going to also charge you on transferred intent. If you intended to kill somebody, if I intend to kill Mr. Caulfield here, but I accidentally killed Mr. Corbin, that law transfers that by intent to kill with malice toward Mr. Caulfield to Mr. Courtroom. Transferred intent. It makes sense that you're gonna have that to consider. If he's shooting at if he's shooting at Gregory Middleton when he's on the ground, and doesn't he mean shooting at Michael Rogers when he's on the ground and it hits Gregory Middleton, it's still the same intent. And we believe that's one way you can find him guilty of murder. You don't get a free pass if you're trying to kill one and you kill the other. Transferred intent. Your Honor is also going to charge you on mutual combat. Mutual combat is a doctrine that South Carolina recognizes as a basis for conviction for either murder or voluntary manslaughter. If a person voluntarily enters into a mutual combat with another, and deadly weapons are used, ladies and gentlemen, and all parties know that they're being used, enter into a combat or into a fight, deadly weapons are used, you know deadly weapons are used, and death results to an innocent party, Gregory Middleton in this case, death results to an innocent party, then everyone engaged in the mutual combat is equally guilty. Everyone engaged in the mutual combat is equally guilty, regardless of whether they fired the fatal shot. All participants in the mutual combat are responsible for their fellow combatants. Combatant actions resulting in foreseeable injury to an innocent party. And that makes sense, doesn't it? You'll have that law to consider. The judge will also charge you that we must prove the defendant was engaged in a mutual combat with a rival combatant. Ain't no question they got some bad blood going on. If that Facebook doesn't show it, I don't know what does. You heard Miss Joquell, she couldn't go into details, but there were some other altercations he had. Wonder who they're with. This video is up there. Was there bad blood between rival combatants? We're coming to get you. We're going to give you a new makeover, you and your car. We've had some new additions. I just want to make sure I get this right. All participants in the mutual combat are responsible for their fellow combatants' actions resulting in foreseeable injury to an innocent party. The judge is going to charge you if the innocent party was killed before the defendant joined the mutual combat. The defendant cannot be held responsible under the doctrine of mutual combat. What do we got to show? A mutual intent and willingness to fight with deadly weapons, manifested by acts and conduct of the parties and the circumstances leading up to the combat. We must prove it rose from a pre-existing dispute between the combatants. But it's not, we don't have to show a positive agreement. That's not reality. We've got to show like the video. It's not necessary to be a positive agreement between the participating parties that enter the conflict. Listen to this, please. It is sufficient if they willfully enter into the conflict. It's sufficient if they willingly enter the conflict at the impulse of another. We're ready to fight. We're ready to fight. Shots are fired. Innocent folks are killed. And we must prove that beyond a reasonable doubt. They don't own these streets. They don't own that convenience store parking lot. This law says if you go there and you have a willingness to fight, you know there's a disagreement, you know you're armed, and you start fighting and you start shooting, you take it to a public commercial establishment, lethal fire is going across, everyone involved in that is responsible whether you fired the shot or not. That's up to y'all. It's up to y'all. We submit he fired the .38. We're going to show you that in a minute on the video. We believe we proved that beyond a reasonable doubt. You'll have that. In addition to that, if there's mutual combat, if you so find we've established that, he can be held responsible under mutual combat. That's up to you. That's up to you.
Who the fuck is that? He need to go home. truck. He over there, his solo. I see him. That nigga is coming. Oh, somebody's fighting. Oh, that look out. Oh my God, y'all on the phone. Yo, I got everything. No, y'all got ammo. Money done. Oh my God, money. No, I can't leave it. Come on. Money. Over here. Yeah, money. I know you know. Where Ella at? No, you don't know, big boy. 2022, you walk there. No, he just been in the crib. Wait, no, that's when I go. That's when. Why they have lunch first? Oh my God. Somebody touch somebody. You might be my life.
Innocent. Presumed innocent until proven guilty. If you're proven guilty, beyond a reasonable doubt, the presumption stays with you from arrest through trial all the way back to the jury room. And stays with you unless and until you, the jury, start reviewing the evidence and decide and take off that presumption. It's sort of like a robe or a blanket. If you review the evidence and start taking it off, well, this the state is proved beyond a reasonable doubt. And if you find we proved him guilty beyond the reasonable doubt, you take off that robe or that blanket. And we respectfully submit, we have proved him guilty of murder, attempted murder, possession of a weapon during a violent crime, and unlawful carrying of a pistol. That's up to y'all. But at this point, I want to say, if you do find him guilty, if you come back in with a guilty verdict, bring that blanket. Come in here and symbolically give it to Ms. Wilson. Because the innocent person in this case is Gregory Smith. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. For the court, I request about a 5-minute break. And as with any story, there are two sides. And it falls to you to decide which side is credible and believable. The state opened this case by telling you that this case is about credibility and believability. And they are exactly right. They told you this case was about credibility and believability, and then they put theories before you that are neither credible nor believable nor supported by the evidence in this case. Think back to the eyewitnesses that you heard from the states. Not the detectives, not the experts, not the pathologists, not the ballistics, but the eyewitnesses, the people that were actually there. Every single one of them had a long and messy criminal history. You heard from a convicted liar filing a false police report. You heard from two men who had slews of drug charges. You heard from a convicted forger. Were those witnesses credible? Were they believable? One of the first witnesses you heard from in this case was Timothy Scarborough, the man that got out of the red Charger. But before we get to his testimony, I want to point out something very important. I want you to think about the witnesses we didn't hear from. Michael Lucas is still alive. Why didn't he come to testify that it was Joquell Myers that shot him? He's available. The state didn't make any argument that he wasn't available. They just didn't call him. Why? What did he have to hide? He had to hide that he was shooting. He was out there shooting too. At my client and my client's brother. What about Christopher Farnham? He's still alive too. He's right here in Sumter County. But they didn't bring him over. Why? Why didn't you hear from him? I want you to think about that as you deliberate. Before I was so rude to him. Joquell Myers ran to the aid of his brother. He ran to help his brother. And he looks up and he sees the driver of that red Charger, whom he didn't know who it was at the time. He knew whose car it was, that it was Rollo's, but he didn't know Rollo, for 100% Rollo was driving. But he saw the gunfire coming out of that car. And he saw that car turning, come to Lindy's side to finish the job. Kill his brother. To kill him. So he opened fire on the car, down low on the side, not trying to kill anybody, just trying to get the car to move on out. You heard that testimony. But we'll come back to that. On the driver's side, where were all those people shooting? They picked up hundreds of shell casings out there. There was a lot more people shooting than the state wants you to know about. What about all those people that Timothy Scarborough called the GDs? We see them with an AR, a bunch of other guns, they shooting. They might have been shooting at that side. Somebody was shooting on that side of that red car. Perhaps one of them people on the Rite Aid side was firing a .38 revolver. He was legally carrying that pistol. And went to his brother's aid when he saw his brother go down. And he defended his brother. At no point during any of this was he unlawfully carrying a firearm. He lawfully carried it to the gas station in the center console, in the closed compartment of that car, and he got it out when self-defense arose, the need for protection arose. Just as any good South Carolinian does, they put their pistol in the glove box of their car or in the center console, legally carried, just in case, because it's a dangerous world. Possession of a weapon during a violent crime. The state cannot carry its burden of proving Joquell Myers guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. On the murder of Gregory Middleton, they can't do it. On voluntary manslaughter, they can't do it. He didn't shoot him. The evidence shows that. On attempted murder of Michael Lucas, it was self-defense. And they can't disprove self-defense beyond a reasonable doubt. They can't do it. Attempted murder of Christopher Farnham. Joquell Myers didn't do it. The video clearly shows he didn't do it. He was sitting in the back seat, taking care of his brother, just like he testified to. The driver, Sheldon Benjamin, he attempted to kill Christopher Farnham, not Joquell Myers. Not guilty. So there is no violent crime for him that he's committed. So therefore, he can't be guilty of possessing a weapon during a violent crime which he didn't commit. Not guilty. He wasn't trying to kill anyone that day. He was just trying to save his brother. The judge will soon charge you on the law of mutual combat. There are 3 elements required for mutual combat. Prior ill will or prior dispute, an antecedent agreement or mutual intent to settle the dispute through fighting with deadly weapons, and each party knew that the other parties were armed. The state has to prove each of those three elements beyond a reasonable doubt. And they can't do it. What do they have? Well, they're trying to tell you that the prior ill will and dispute between Mr. Myers and Killer Mike is exhibited by that Facebook. Well, Mr. Myers doesn't say anything in that Facebook video. He doesn't say anything. He makes some hand motions, arguably a gun, but we don't know what Mr. Myers' intent was in the back of that video. He's making some hand motions. We don't know. He was just laughing along. His brother was making a video. His brother said in the video, "We don't play with guns, we fight." And that's what he did. He punched Killer Mike. A fist fight. Not deadly weapons. A fist fight. That's what he wanted. But Killer Mike pulled that pistol and turned the fray deadly. He turned the fray deadly. He pulled the first deadly weapon. It's not credible or believable to believe that that Facebook video shows any intent on the part of Mr. Myers. He's just in the background. And there's a concept known, a lot of people do it. It's called Facebook fronting. They put on a front on social media. Tough guy front. They're making video as a joke. It's not really serious. It's just a ha-ha. They were laughing. We don't know when this video was made either. I mean, unless you want to take the word of the Joquell Myers was trying to retreat the whole time. The state wants you to believe that as he was running away, he saw his brother fall. He should have just kept on running. Now, is that credible? Is that believable? To think that a man should leave his brother behind? Leave him to die alone on the cold pavement? A coward dies 1,000 deaths. But Joquell Myers went back to save his brother. And he was trying to retreat. He was trying to get him to the hospital. Trying to get him in that car. But he couldn't until the firing stopped. So he engaged that red Charger. He was firing at him and firing at his brother. And he shot at him 3 times. First time, red Charger, he runs back and checks on his brother. Red Charger's pulling out, still fire, coming their way. Fires all the way till he gets out in the parking lot. He was firing as he was driving away. That's why Joquell ran out and fired again. Judge is going to tell you about something. Once you're engaged in self-defense, you don't have to stop until the threat is gone. And that threat was not gone until Michael Lucas stopped firing as he was driving and out on the Broad Street. Joquell couldn't retreat and leave his brother behind. He was trying to get his brother to the hospital, but he had to get that man to stop shooting and move on out first. Because his brother didn't have much time. Mr. Myers has no burden to prove anything in this case. Did you hear that? He has no burden to prove anything. That means that all the proof in this case has to come from the state. They have to prove this case to you beyond a reasonable doubt. They have to prove every element of this case to you beyond a reasonable doubt. And when there are reasonable doubts raised by the evidence in this case, which it was my obligation to do, they must dispel those doubts. Not one of those doubts, not two of those doubts, not three of those doubts, not 17 of those doubts, but all of those doubts must somehow disappear unanimously in your minds. I need to say something that's very important. It's very important to me. Each and every, you have the duty and the obligation and the responsibility to say, no, the state has not proven this man guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. His life, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, is in your hands. Today, we entrust this man's life to you.
Okay. I have the jury's verdict form. As to the charge of the murder of Gregory Middleton, it states we, the jury, unanimously find the defendant not guilty. As to the lesser included offense of voluntary manslaughter of Gregory Middleton, we, the jury, unanimously find the defendant not guilty. As to the attempted murder of Christopher Fordham, we, the jury, unanimously find the defendant not guilty. As to the lesser included offense of assault and battery of a high and aggravated nature of Christopher Fordham, we, the jury, unanimously find the defendant not guilty. As to the charge of the attempted murder of Michael Lucas, we, the jury, unanimously find the defendant guilty. As to the charge of the possession of a firearm during the commission of a violent crime, we, the jury, unanimously find the defendant guilty. As to the charge of unlawful carrying of a pistol, we, the jury, unanimously find the defendant guilty. Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask, is this your verdict?
Yes.
Anything further on the part of the state?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Mr. Ward, Mr. Young, anything further on the part of the defense?
We would request that the jury be polled, and we would renew our motion for directed verdict. We move for verdict notwithstanding, a verdict notwithstanding the verdict.
And I'll let you give your post-trial motions after you release the jury. After you poll the jury.
May I please call Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, y'all still see the state. Ladies and gentlemen, the juror, all I need is a yes or no answer. Juror number 171, LaShawn White, is this your verdict and still your verdict?
Yes, sir.
Juror number 152, Joanne Simmons, this is your verdict and still your verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 147, Gregory Rogers, is this your verdict and still your verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 114, Jason Mosley, is this your verdict and still your verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 121, Ashley Oberdeen, is this your verdict and still your verdict?
Yes, sir.
Juror number 103, Shayla McCoy, is this your verdict and still your verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 53, Cornetha Fuller, this is your verdict and still your verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 90, Timothy Kennedy, is this your verdict and still your verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 115, Michael Murphy, is this your verdict and still your verdict?
Yes.
Juror number Ken Wilson, is this your verdict and still your verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 60, Janice Glover, this is your verdict and still your verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 99, Deanna Banzer, this is your verdict and still your verdict?
Yes.
Your Honor, jury matter has been pulled.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you very much for your service over the past 2 weeks. Okay, I'm glad to hear from y'all on sentencing.
Presented to the defense counsel.
Mr. Corbett will begin.
Your Honor, with regard to sentencing, the court has obviously seen all of the evidence presented in trial for this case. I think Your Honor sees an incredibly dangerous situation, not only among the parties, but the citizens of Sumter County who were present at that business that night. Your Honor, it's an attempted murder towards Michael Lucas, but it was a callous disregard for everyone in that parking lot and in the vicinity. Your Honor, we'd ask for a sentence that would fairly and just and show justice to that set of circumstances.
I'd just like to publicly thank the Sumter Police Department, Chief Rourke, and all his outstanding staff for the job they did on a war zone, collecting, documenting it, preparing, and helping us. So thank you, Chief and Sumter Police Department. I want to thank my boss, thank my victim advocate, Sonia, Daniel Caulfield, my chief investigators, Willie McFadden and Natalie Kelly, and all the family for their patience. That's all we have.
Please support. As was just stated, you certainly heard everything, you heard the arguments that put each side's position as best they could. One of the things I wanted to just remind you of a couple of things. Well, it comes before the court with a clean record before September of 2019. 25, a clean record up to that point in time. And you can imagine what went through his mind, and I want to take you back just a few seconds to what happened that evening. As you saw on the video, Lucas and his red car comes coming up there with the tires. What's the first thing they said when they get out of that? Anybody got a problem with that? And then the so-called movement over there, they didn't, my client and his brother didn't go to these people, they came to them, clearly looking for a fight. He didn't ask for a fight out there that night. But he responded after seeing his brother being shot. I would hope the court would realize that he responded as I would hope my brothers would respond if I got shot in the same way. To retaliate against the perception of who started this, and that was that way in charge. Clearly, if he had wanted to shoot the man and try to kill him, another jury said otherwise, but he wouldn't have shot, he would have shot into the windows and not into the body of the car. I think that's been our position all along. I'm concerned that the jury got a little confused on some of these issues, mutual combat, etc. By the same token, Joquell didn't ask for this fight. He happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. I think he felt like he was coming to the aid of his brother and responded accordingly to what he perceived as the causation and the start of all of this trouble was that red Charger and Mr. Lucas and his buddies. So they did start the fight. Clearly he was trying to get him out of there, and I think the evidence by the strikes of the bullets on the car, he wasn't shooting at the driver, he was shooting at the car. And I would ask the court to take that into consideration, and certainly his clean record up to this point. It's unfortunate that he found himself in that situation, and I realized that when he was giving his interview with the officers, he said, "I'll take manslaughter, attempted manslaughter, attempted murder, and give me that," because he shot at the car. I think at that particular point in time, he was convinced by the officers that that was something that he should do. The jury has obviously agreed with that, but I would ask the court to take into consideration the emotional trauma that he went through in those few seconds of watching his brother die, coming close to dying, and being shot like that and trying to get him to the hospital. He was simply trying to protect his brother. And in that course, he found himself in the middle of this trial and in this case. I would ask the court to temper its sentence, taking into consideration those facts in this clean record. Thank you.
I'd just like to briefly follow up to that we think the Facebook Live video does show the intent prior to this, so we respectfully disagree with that. That's all we have.
So now we have Mike Rogers is dead. We've got Gregory Middleton is dead. We've got DeAndre Epps in a wheelchair. We've got Christopher Fordham injured. I understand Jay McBride is now deceased. I don't know what from. So what strikes me about seeing all the testimony in this case and watching the videos is just a total disregard for your own life, and for the lives of others, for your own safety. And I can't for the life of me understand why you don't value your own life more. When I look at what's happened, even since you've been in jail, Mr. Myers, at least over the past 3 years, you're still alive, you're safe. You haven't gotten shot in the last 3 years while you've been in jail. And I mean, I think it's sad that that's the safest place you could have been in the past 3 years. I don't know how to change it. But it just strikes me as very sad. I look at all these young people who have lost their lives, and I see the video of just wanton shooting without any regard for your own safety, without regard for the safety of others. I don't know how we've gotten to this point. I am certainly taking into account that you have been found by this jury not guilty of murder, not guilty of the attempted murder of Mr. Fordham. So I'm not sentencing you with respect to those offenses, and I'm not taking that into consideration in fashioning this sentence. I do recognize that there are others who were involved in the shooting who I think are equally culpable, some of whom have not yet come to trial, and some may never be punished. Some may have escaped detection. From this particular situation, we may never know, the law enforcement may never know it, or at least have enough evidence to prosecute those people. And they may be every bit as culpable as you, but that doesn't take away from your culpability in this. I mean, I think everybody knew what was going to happen at that gas station. Even people who weren't involved in this knew something bad was about to happen. It's really just dumb luck that we don't have more people who are injured. So the attempted murder is a 0 to 30 offense. Possession of a weapon during a violent crime is 5 years. Unlawful carrying of pistols up to 1 year. I am taking into account that you do not have a prior record. As to the offense of the attempted murder of Michael Lucas, the sentence of the court is 20 years. As to the offense of possession of a weapon during the
Sit down and listen, Quell.
Man, I'm ready to go, man.
Be quiet, be quiet, sit down.
Quell, please sit down. Just listen.
sentence of the court as to the offense of possession of a weapon during a violent crime is 5 years. That's concurrent. The sentence of the court as to unlawful carrying of a pistol is 1 year, concurrent. So the total sentence is 20 years. I am giving him credit for the time that he has previously spent in the detention center. Anything else that I need to cover on behalf of the state?
Nothing from the state, Your Honor.
Mr. Young?
For the last 10 days to file our motions.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
This is Christian News TY. I'm Tony Conyers. Is there any newsworthy events? We will get them to you as soon as possible. If not, you can follow us on Christian News TY Facebook. You can follow us on YouTube, and you can follow us on our website.
My name is Aubrey. My name is Reagan. My name is Riley. And my name is Robert. For the best news, turn down the bass, push that button, and follow us.
This TY talking to you. If it's another, he's a phony. We need your help. If you can give a donation of $1, we promise not to holler. If you would like to give more, we thank you. Information how to give donation is at the top or bottom of this video. Thanking you in advance. Remember to look for Agnes William name along with Christian News Cash App.
Christian News TY would like to thank everyone for watching. With the cost of gas and trying to keep you updated with the news, please consider donating to help Christian News TY today.